Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, you know, we were seeing what was happening with the shield and how for a while everybody seemed kind of depressed and sad and with all our processing that we decided based on what a lot of speakers were saying about laughter that perhaps we needed a reminder of how humor and laughter is part of mastery. And so, you know, oh, where's Pammy?
I'm right here.
You going to turn the slides?
Do you want me to?
Yes, please. So, of course, it depends on which side of the Atlantic you're on. On the American side, of course, LOL means, refers to laughing, lots of laughter.
Mm-hmm. And this is where it began because, in a way, I think it was actually here in Virginia Beach that Mel and I were talking about what was the first joke of Source, I seem to remember. And I remember thinking, wanting to get to know itself at the time. And then what we looked at was the differences that sometimes have happened in emails and different ways that we've communicated. But also we realised how it brought us together as well. So it's a joy to be able to share from both sides today, and also to be a bit nervous at the centre because we're being filmed. Okay.
And it was interesting also, too, we had a lady from the Netherlands Shield come up to us when we gave this class or shared this information in Phoenix. And she said that in the Netherlands, she says it means essentially being joyful, bringing joy. And so I thought that was kind of nice, to, especially when we want to talk about joy and humor and mastery. Next slide, please. Because essentially true masters have great senses of humor. You know, if you meet someone, they just don't have a sense of humor at all. You know, do you really want to stay around them? You look in their eyes and they're kind of dead, and it's like, no, this person, you know, no matter what the words are, it's humor is part of mastery. You know, when we can get to the point where we can laugh at ourselves and laugh at life, you know, and understand that laughter is really love. True laughter, not malicious, that pointing at you laughter, but the true laughter that makes you expand inside. And so we need to take the universe seriously. You know, there's a lot of things happening, but not to get rigid, and not to take ourselves too seriously. You know, not to become a position, but to remain true to who you really are. So why can't people laugh? Well, could it be because we have distortions? You know, we have this template that's 69% mutated. And all these receptors, the apartheid in it, and the Christ energy comes in and gets twisted. And so it's like there's a separation. We have this mutated body that stands between us and our true self. And then we wonder why, when other people are laughing or they tell jokes and you just don't get it, you just don't feel any sense of joy or laughter. Well, that's because the information coming in, the true Christ energy, is getting mutated and reversed. And it's good to understand that, because that way it gives you something to heal. You know, it gives you something that you can say, okay, I can do something about this. I have a note here from Mac on an email she did in May, and it says, those deep-seated buttons we don't even know are there are being pushed, and pushed hard. Step back away from yourself and just watch. Best not to act. Our people in your hologram will get what is not coming to them. This program works by altering perception. Things are misunderstood, misperceived by us, and then our emotional body gets to drive the bus. And we know what a lousy bus driver our emotional body is.
So yeah, make it a game. And I feel a bit like this is a game, because I feel like I'm going to burst into song, but I know you need it, Scotty. So make it a game and don't worry about performance. That's the thing. I think sometimes I've had emails from people who have actually said that they get quite distraught by living with the ANRs sometimes, because they're trying so desperately hard, you know, in a way to make that happen for themselves, when in terms of co-creation with the ANRs, we're able to co-create on a daily level. And one way is to look at the problems as a challenge and then face those challenges and make them a game. Because when we see the strategy of the games that are being played within our own holograms, then we can become masters of our co-creations. So we can actually take more control and bring more joy and bring more laughter in to really shift our own perspectives on that. So we can make every challenge that comes up for us into something that's less heavy duty. Of course it's serious. The drama that we're in is serious, it always has been. But we can tend to take a step back and become the directors of our own hologram by looking at it from a different perspective. So when we look at the challenges as a game, we can see it like a game of chess. We can plan the strategies better. We can rise above the emotional and the mental body level to take a perspective of a higher level of being able to make change. So we're empowered all the time, and that joy comes through more the more we empower ourselves to make it a game.
And this hologram was intended to be joyful, wasn't intended to be what it is. Yes, yes. Yeah, and it's God that individuated itself into many faces and has all these lessons and challenges that we're trying to heal ourselves, trying to heal the planet, trying to heal the universe. You know, we're out there trying to heal everything. And I think we start finding maybe more joy when we bring it back home to ourselves and understanding that we can't heal anything out there. And it's ourselves that we need to look at first, and to take a look at yourself. Sometimes I'll get so serious, and I really have to step back and laugh at myself. And you'll find that other people will laugh at you, and if you have that feeling of why are they laughing at me? You know, I used to get that way because when I was in the military, you know, you were in this uniform, and you had this facade, this face, this persona that you projected, and I found that over the years. That where I used to be able to laugh, it was like there was something inside of me that could laugh, but I couldn't crack a smile on the outside. It was like I was caught in a prison of my own making. And so there was part of me that could feel joyful, kind of. You know, it's sort of like when someone's telling a joke and everybody's rolling on the floor, and there's this one person kind of going, okay. Yeah, it must be funny. I don't get it, you know? And that was kind of me. You know, I wasn't getting it. I was typed. I was trying so hard. And when you try so hard, it's like that, and it stops becoming a game, you know? And that's the challenge, is can we unclasp that, and can we start opening that and relaxing? So everybody just take a breath, just a real quick breath. Relax the brain. Yeah, relax the brain, let your brain just kind of, you know. I know. But that individuation, as we come down, that's what's meant by we're all one. We're all from Source. We all started back as that one. And as we each heal ourselves, as we each bring more humor and try to look at things a little more lightly, then we do that for everybody, for the whole shield. Next slide. Next slide. No, that was one. The hologram was joyful. I forgot the point.
So focused
I know. Okay, just go back one so they can quickly look at it and breathe it in.
Yeah, but defiance, I like that.
Yeah, living by your. I mean, if you're going to rebel.
Defying the holograms.
If you're going to rebel against something, if you're going to be defiant at life, then, you know, as talks about pointing your rebellion in the right direction. You know, if you're going to defy the fallen angelics, then be joyful. Sometimes it's a choice. Sometimes it's okay, I'm not feeling too joyful today. What can I go look at, or what can I think about? And sometimes I'll just have to focus on a song, or maybe a saying, or maybe just go get myself busy for the moment. Just something to take my mind away from the poor me. Oh, poor me. You know, and I can get into that real easily, because that was an imprint that that a lot of us get when we're growing up. You know, we get that martyr, or the poor me, or things are so bad and I have no control, I'm so helpless. You know, there's all those different victimizer programs running. So remember, joy. Joy is will defy the everything out there that's non-Christiac. So let's go ahead and sing this part of the song. It isn't easy in a world so filled with pain to go on smiling. Tears turn into rain and they are falling. They keep falling. And it's hard when you see the suffering of your fellows to turn your head away and feel the sunshine, to see the brand new day that waits before us and all it offers. Sometimes it is hard, to keep on smiling, but you know that old saying about, hey, tomorrow's going to be better. It's a new day. And what that really is saying, you know, when it's a new day, and by the way, I think this is in your handout. It's handout number 10, I think. But what it's saying is that it's a brand new day, and we have that choice. We can choose to make a choice, whether it's a brand new day or a brand new moment, a brand new hour.
Mm-hmm. And also about holding every moment as sacred, because there's a really beautiful quote from Az here. There's a beautiful quote from Az from the April 2005. Our shared desire and ambition is to change the tapestry of what we call life. We are the colours as much as we are the weft and weave. We are the substance through and by which we may experience a new and better world. That world already exists. That world already has lessons built into it from the past. And that world doesn't contain certain ways of being. It actively holds as sacred such ways of being as discussed briefly here that some KSs have not yet realized are the prerequisite to rightful passage, and time is running out.
It's like Groundhog Day. We're gonna keep saying it and saying it until we get it right. Yes.
But the time is so right now. I mean, it's always been right, but it's so right now, here, now. So then we decided also what would be really, we already have from Angelic Realities, if you haven't come across that yet, one of the earlier works where we have the step towards personal joy, and it's also got steps towards joy with others. But this is, again, going back to the moment being the most powerful moment that we have is the now moment, and surrendering to that. Because when we surrender to the now, we pull in all the power that we have right now. All that multidimensional self is brought together as one. So as we know about the law of one, so we know that to be the most powerful co-creators that we already are, we can hold that power in the now moment. What it also enables us to do is not transgress to the past and future parts of ourselves in pushing forward the thoughts that certain things may occur, or the drama may get to be this, or all sorts of things that we can create for ourselves. And similarly, when we hold ourselves in a state of being that isn't present, fully present, then we're always allowing ourselves to step out of our power slightly to some extent. So the more we let the moment be what it needs to be, we give that space allowance, we accept it as sacred, we know it to be sacred, and we know it to be the part of ourselves that is truly Christic, then we can be fully masters of ourselves. So surrendering to the moment is a step towards joy for yourself, but it's also a step towards others as well. They can also enjoy and embrace that moment with you.
And the gift of presence always comes to mind when I see this one about surrendering to the moment, because a lot of times people say, well, what can I do? You know, we know that there's this drama out there. We know that we have this journey we're taking, but what can we do? And sometimes it's just what we call the gift of presence, is that you do what you can to heal yourself and to have that focused on who you are as the Christian side. And when you do that, that allows that thought, that feeling of knowing you're the Christian, being the Christ at that moment, to radiate out into the shield. So that's why when you do the healing of yourself, you're really helping everybody to heal also, because it kind of lightens up the shield a bit. Every time you laugh, every time you smile, you're lightening up and bringing up that frequency of love, because laughter is the frequency of love.
And a really simple exercise that I'd like you to share, if you want to, is if you just close your eyes for a moment, right now, in this now moment, and become aware, what thoughts are you holding in this now moment? What thoughts are going through your head, through your mind, right now? And in the silence of this now moment, are you able to control those thoughts or to shift those thoughts? Or even to be aware of holding one thought right now in this now moment? And is it supporting you, the thought? Is it allowing you a deeper connection to your Christos self? Or is it taking you a step out of that connection? And just use your breath to really just breathe in. And just as you breathe out, you can release that thought to fully hold the still point and just be in the now moment. And you can do that at any time in your day, any place, anywhere that you are, to just give you a refocusing point to reconnect if ever you feel out of balance or the shift moves so quickly for you. Being fully present and surrendering to the moment. Very simple, very effective, but sometimes we forget. Okay.
Love and a sense of humor. To come in at this time for this mission, you either have to have a supreme sense of humor or be totally nuts. And I vote for nuts, right? But, you know, I like what Max says, that she says, we need to remember we volunteered for this mission. No victims. Why I like to sometimes say that I was duped here by the promise of good chocolate. That is not the case. When people ask me, where is the love in these teachings, I find that question absolutely astounding. There is not one of us that did not come here in this density out of pure love for the teachings and our dedication to the Christos Reclamation mission. No martyrs, no victims, no saviors, just pure love. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, change the packing list. Max says, I remember the days of being your age and traveling when I could carry 2 weeks' worth of stuff in my backpack. Now I have an enormous suitcase and a carry-on. Seems the longer I am here, the more baggage I carry. Most importantly, you know, when we're here, since we're here, we need to pack a whole lot of patience, flexibility, and a desire to be of service. All will be most needed. That desire of, you know, how many of you had a feeling inside as you were growing up, or even as you got older, that you wanted to serve, or there was a pull towards something, but you didn't know? Yeah. And sometimes in that desire to serve, we end up in pathways or are doing things that maybe are not always for our highest good. But the part of us that was still connected somehow to the Christ through all the stuff that we'd gone through, all the lifetimes, was still telling us that we're here to serve. And now it's like, okay, how do we serve? And because that desire to be of service is there. And sometimes, you know, when you don't have a clear message of how to serve, sometimes to serve is just to be in love with yourself, to be sitting in the frequency of love, to bring out that frequency of love. And that frequency of love is also the frequency of joy. And you know, and that will allow you really to get out of yourself. I tell my husband sometimes when, you know, I get caught up in the victimizer game, you know, and which is so easy to do, you know. And in fact, actually, when you're in a couple, it really gives you lots of opportunity for seeing where you need most healing. And I'll back up sometimes and say, that's my stuff. Let me get over myself. You know, let me go away and get over myself. And sometimes, you know, you're feeling angry and resentful, and you just want to kick something, you know. And you need, and so sometimes just stepping back, because that's the baggage I carry. And it's that moment of choice, being able to step back and say, okay, let me go breathe a bit and work, because it gives me great opportunities for knowing where the Christ is coming in twisted.
And we are truly blessed to have a lot of assistance and parts of ourselves in the consciousness of many codes now. When we started with very few, and they built on the frequencies that we were all able to hold. And so we are experiencing a very profound workshop here in Virginia Beach. But we can choose in any moment in our own space and time, wherever we are, to work with the consciousness of the codes, because they're a part of who we are and we are a part of them. And a very simple thing for you to do, again, it's a step towards joy, is to be here and now and go within, to actually go within yourself, but also to work with any of the codes of consciousness, to be a part with them, to hold that space of love, because they offer that assistance to know yourself. And again, in the day-to-day running of your life, if you've got a little Cody with you, which you always have with you, but if you actually have something visual that you find easier to relate to, then this is a really simple way to just go within, to look at the Amareya flame, to look at you may be working, you know, maybe your first workshop, and you're working with the Akasha code. And the power and the knowingness of these codes is such a gift to all of us that we're able to share. And so if as a group we could just breathe, again, just literally breathe in. And you can use any of the techniques, but for yourself you can just simply breathe yourself into the center of the flame. And be within it and of the flame and as it at the same time. And if it helps to just close your eyes and become aware of the all-knowing nature of the flame as you go within. And once you're in there, really breathe in the frequencies and expand them out. And in any moment we can do this. It takes a few moments of our time just to be within the flame and to consciously become aware or back on track even.
And when you go into the flame, you can bring that frequency back also into your body. You know, we project ourselves into the flame and we expand out, like Hillary says, and you feel the frequency. But then bring that frequency back into your body and expand it out through your body. So it's like you're part of the big flame, but the flame's also part of you. And this is a technique that you can use to bring in more frequency. And by bringing in more frequency, it allows you to make different choices. Because one of the things we want to do is go vertical and not go horizontal. And the frequency of consciousness of the codes, when we align with them, will help us to go vertical and connect more fully with who we really are at each level of our individuation. And that helps us keep the focus on what's important. Sometimes what I'll do at work is I'll be doing computer work, or I'll be really getting in, there's a lot of phone calls coming in, and I have to push myself away from the desk and do a checkup. You know, where is my mind? Where are my emotions? Am I being scattered? Am I, like this morning when I ended up starting out so late this morning, and Pammy says, now, Mel, slow the bass pulse rhythm. You know, it's, because I was all excited, you know. And my energy was going all over the place. And so it helps to have not only someone remind you, but to remind yourself to take that checkup. It's like, pushing back away from whatever you're doing and just taking a breather. Isn't it interesting, the word taking a breather? In American, that's a kind of cliche, oh, I have to go take a breather. And we can do that by taking a breath and just doing a checkup, whether it's every 6 minutes, every 12 minutes. It all helps because it helps with that self-containment. Self-containment, are we spewing energies out there? Are we kind of going with our words, our thoughts? And I'm beginning, as we clear more, our thoughts are getting really important. I mean, I was at the bank the other day, and I needed a new bank register, and they always give me just one. And I was standing in front of the guy, and they couldn't find any, and this one guy says, well, I think I have some on the desk. So I go over, and I'm there saying, in my mind to him, I could use 2. Why don't you give me 2? And he hands me 2 of them and says, here, and there's an extra just in case you need one. And I thought, if one's going to manifest, we start small, right, anyway. And so that really showed me that I could really start manifesting with my thoughts and how important they're becoming, because we're going to be starting to manifest more instantly, more clearly, because we are getting more clear. And so what are we sending out? And sometimes we just have to take a break. We just have to take a time out and look at things, or just take a breather and just kind of get centered back again.
Yeah, and I remember when we were both doing this last time, do you remember? The idea of the fullness of your mind. I mean, what is actually crammed in there half the time too? And how much is like a little backpack in its own on top of your head, How much stuff have you put in there during the day that by the end of the day, you do a great field clearing technique, don't you, Mel? Of just, letting go, of sending things that don't belong to you back from whence they came. But also, how much stuff are we trying to cram in there that is not serving us, is not taking us vertical, it's taking us horizontal so much. So mind, what's full in your mind could maybe be, how you have decluttering? Do you have decluttering? Where you chuck stuff out that you no longer need. It's like that. That's what mindfulness can be, about directing the energies where you want them to go, rather than them just running on autopilot all the time.
And I'll take that checkup sometimes, and I'll feel what my body feels like. Am I feeling tight? If I feel tight, then that's the time to take that breath. Sometimes, and like Hillary says, at the end of each day, and sometimes throughout the day, I'll get a feeling like I'll pass people by in the corridor, and all of a sudden I'll feel like little pricklies in my energy, or I'll start itching somewhere. And so when I get back to my office, the first thing I say is, by the power of my own crystals, all energies in my biofield that are not mine, I send them back to their owner or point of origin. And I do that periodically throughout the day, and I do it when I finally get home on my home grids in the evening, so that I'm not taking any of that home. I'm right outside the door and do it, and then go in. And it's amazing how your body feels differently, because we're going through, our energies are going through everybody's fields throughout the day. And so I think of that just sort of like as my own basic way of helping spiritual hygiene. Is by the power of my own Christos. I send it back. It's theirs. It's not mine. I don't need it.
How would you do it if you lived in a house where people came to see you? That was your place of work, and
Then when they leave, I do it.
Can you say it for your own house? You could say
Absolutely.
That?
Because it's your place. It's your sacred place. So when I'm inside my house, because my husband will come home, and I'll say by the power of my Christos, anything in this place that is not ours, we send it back. Yeah. So, it's your Christos. It's not your stuff. And in the long run, if we don't allow other people to work on their own stuff, then we're really taking away their spirit. It's their spiritual growth. We're actually violating their spiritual integrity in a lot of ways. And so it's sort of like, I can't do it for you. Let me give it back to you. And that includes, when you go see mom, when you go see parents, you go see kids, no matter how much you love them and you want to help them, if, they'll keep on, if they don't learn their own lessons, they'll keep on manifesting situations until they learn it. So you might as well give it back to them and let them handle it their own stuff. You have enough of your own stuff to handle. I have enough of my own stuff. I don't need everybody's energies. And sometimes then when you start reacting at home, or whether it's on the telephone or with your own family, sometimes when you have other people's energies in your biofield, it's their stuff that you're sending out through. It's, so it's not just then your distortions in your template. You're also working with their energies, and it's causing you to respond in certain ways. So you want to be as clear as you can, so you can do your own work.
It's also a bit like the baggage stuff. I keep thinking of my little backpack, but it's like you left your bag behind. If somebody comes to your house, you left your bag as you were leaving. Here, don't forget to take it with you. Because some people are carrying so many other bags with them. They're like porters at an airport. So you can give it back when people bring it to you if you don't want it.
Yeah, I had someone come in the door at work the other day, and they just came in, handed me an envelope, and left. And they left, and I felt prickly all of a sudden, and I immediately sent it back. I knew it was the person, but I just immediately sent it. This isn't my stuff. Sending it back, and when you can get used to doing that periodically, it makes other things easier. It makes your journey easier because you have enough to worry about without working with others. Max says, we have all the techniques necessary to bring in more frequency and make different choices. It is just simply a matter of practice, diligence, and mindfulness. We can stop our old pattern emotional reactions simply by slowing our breathing, stopping the old pattern, and make a different choice. It isn't hard. We're just out of practice. We haven't done it. The clues and the magic are everywhere. So we want to, there's an Australian Aboriginal word that's called Moomba. Now Moomba means, let's go and have some fun. What we like to call it is, though, masters overcome obstacles mainly by attitude. Yeah. So I want you all to say Moomba. Say Moomba. Moomba. Now feel it in your chest. Moomba. Just like you're saying, let's go have some fun. Moomba. And what we're passing out to you is a Moomba string. Okay? And you can put it around your wrist or something so that throughout this day or whatever, it's like tying a string around your finger to remember to have some fun. And it was interesting, we had one lady that was at this class last time, and she said during the workshop she would start getting a little fragmented or something, and she would look at that and say, I have to have some fun, Moomba. So it's... Yeah. And so what we need feedback from you on, and Hillary will write it down, is what are ways to bring more laughter? What have you found that will bring more laughter, play, and fun in your lives?
Include animals in your hologram.
Animals, okay. Animals. What are some other ways of bringing more fun or laughter or joy into your life? Okay, family, FTs. Huh? Children.
Yes! Babies.
Mm-hmm. How about some others?
Put on some music and dance around.
Yes, music and dancing.
Swim in the ocean.
All right, swimming.
In the ocean.
In the ocean.
Absolutely. It's warm.
Mm-hmm. A joke? A good joke. Or watching something funny, maybe? Sometimes what I like is actually saying something to someone that they're not expecting me to say. And they go, Mel, I can't believe you said that. You know, it's like, yes, okay. It's like helping breaking out of your paradigm. Any other inputs from
Something nice.
a gift to yourself? Surprising people, that's fun, isn't it? It's like being a secret Santa. You all know how it's kind of nice to gift someone something unexpectedly. And sometimes it's like, what was it, years ago, there was an article about someone went to a toll booth and they gave the person like $10 and said, this is for the 10 cars behind me. You know, it's like random acts of kindness. Yeah. Any others? Pardon? Friends. Yeah. Isn't that great to come here and see friends, see people that that don't judge you? You know, that have tremendous love for you.
Different galaxy entirely.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. It's lighting, yeah. Colors and rainbows. That's right, right. So that string that we gave you is just a reminder, whether you put it around your wrist or your purse or your glasses or whatever, that when you see it, just reminds you to laugh and have some more fun and to look for things for fun.
There's one that you got then.
Chocolate, yes. Next slide, Pammy. Pammy, next slide.
Sometimes what I do with people is I get them to write down 12 things that they really love doing, just the first things that comes to mind, and then as an exercise, see how much time they spend doing them. Because actually people go, well, I used to really love walking, but I don't have the time for my job. Or I used to go dancing with people, but I don't see those people anymore. Whereas you can just dance around the house, sing, do whatever, around space as well, and get that same feeling of joy.
Or spin, right?
A spin. I was doing it on the beach just now. I mean, admittedly, the person with me was walking very far behind me. I was singing so loud because in the sea you can really go, oh, you know. You don't really hear you. I can't do that in London because I'm going somewhere else. Tourists can do it.
Don't forget to use your mic.
Yes. Yeah. So sometimes those things of making a list enable us to focus back into the moment of how much where are we directing our energies? Because the joy space is usually so close to who we really are that we can make those connections. And they're often things that we give the least time to because we're busy doing all the other things, the 3D hologram things that push these out.
So take a deep breath. And we want you to project again that spark of consciousness of you into the code. Expand that out into the code so that you're feeling the totality of the code. And then bring that frequency, bring that encryption back into your body and expand it out. And then we want you to speak the words that are up there and let your whole, feel that your whole insides are expanding like a resonating chamber. And you're going to speak these words so they resonate throughout your whole body. Okay? Let's go ahead. I am this now. Be peace. Be now as one with God. Now say the word peace again and let the word peace just resonate throughout your whole body. Say, I am peace. I am peace. And do you feel how that feels in your body? The word peace. I am this now.
I am this now.
I am now as one with God.
I am now as one with God. Because one of the steps towards personal joy is feeling, to feel, and to actually, you need to feel in order to heal. So you need to allow yourself that feeling of joy. And when you feel it, you know it. It expands your own consciousness and knowing of what the feeling of joy really is. And it's interesting because all the things that you described here, what I would consider passionate feelings of joy that well up inside of us when we do these things, are often a step towards feeling. The feeling of children, babies, the feeling of what a joke does to your physical body, what it literally makes you feel. The things that walking makes you feel, the expansion, not contraction, they're all expansive. Painting, sliding and gliding, giving gifts, you know. It's rainbows come to me as a thought. Whoever looks at a rainbow and goes, oh God, look at the rainbow.
Oh God, the rain's coming.
Yeah, you know. It's like, wow, rainbow, you know. Even if you're soaking wet and it's freezing. You see, so the feeling, it's important when we do technique and when we work with the codes and everything that we do to feel that connection, to know it. Yeah, so allow yourself as well. Sometimes we don't allow ourselves to just feel the joy. Ah, and there's the rainbow.
Yeah, it's the
Good
rainbow.
manifestation. Huh?
That's the good one.
That was pretty quick.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and sing this together, okay? With the promise of a new day, dry the tears upon your cheek. Turn towards the laughter, let it fill you. You won't be beat. Absolutely, you know that's when that laughter. Think of the word laughter. Say, I am laughter.
I am laughter.
Yeah, how do see? It makes you when you proclaim, when you say I am, you're stepping into your Christos power, right? And then whatever you put after that, I am, is what you're creating. So I am laughter, and you feel how you giggled then. Absolutely, absolutely, and that increases your frequency. And no one can do it for us. It's our responsibility. How we respond to life, how we're able to respond. And when we can respond with laughter, when we can be kind of amused at what life is serving us, what's out there, what the games people play. You know, when you can really get outside the game and look at the games other people are playing, then you can choose, okay, I choose not to engage into that. And you can kind of laugh because you can recognize that it's a game. It's like playing a game of Risk or Chance or Monopoly, you know, and that's what you're seeing. And if you can get into that, well, it's all a game. It's all a game, and I can choose how I want to play it. Then that's when you put the power back in you, in your corner.
Yeah, and I had an experience of this recently when I came to the last workshop in Phoenix. And it took me 40 hours from leaving my house in London to get to Phoenix.
That's a long time.
That was quite a long time, yeah. Usually it's about 12. So yeah, so when I left the house, the game started to play. First there was a fire, then there was a train that broke down, then there was a missing connection, then there was an overnight stay in JFK. And I was going, okay, hey, cool game going on here. I'm in a virtual reality game anyway, so I'm going to play the game. And whilst people around me were reflecting back fear and also tears and distraught kind of reactions to what was happening, I was going, okay, this is fine. Got my 12 tribes to read. It's going to allow me plenty of time to do that. I'm going to get myself a nice little comfy chair because I'm going to be spending the night here. There's a place that does coffee and teas and things all night and soup, so that's okay. But what I was aware of was how I was holding a pillar of power. Wherever I went, I could stand in a queue of people who were going crazy and just be in that space because I was being responsible to make that choice. And actually finding the space gave me an allowance to do stuff. And of course, the guardian time beauty of all of this was, as Pammy knows, I was teaching when I got to the Phoenix workshop. I had a practicum at 7 o'clock that night. And I arrived at 6 at the airport, and I probably had about 10 minutes to get in the shower and then get down. I was a bit late for the class, but I was still able to teach. Off my face, yeah. But I could have changed that hologram. I could have entered into the game, you know. I could have gone with it. And I could have said, oh, this is a big nightmare, you know, look what's happening to me. And I could have joined in all those other expressions of that around me if I'd made that choice. But
Nothing to indicate that you had had that ordeal right before you. No, totally nothing. No, totally, it was true. I hadn't, you were fine all the way, big time.
But it taught me a great lesson. It taught me a lesson about holding my own feels and being, and I was tired, you know, because that to me is when the joy quota really starts to get tough, you know, when I'm tired and people are like, and I say, okay, I'm tired, I need to rise above this. But it was putting myself in a space of knowing it was a game, and I could see the game. Because it became ridiculous, you know, the amount of things that went wrong. Baggage went missing, things broke down, everything happened, you know. And it was just a catalogue of events that were almost staged beforehand, like a comedy routine, you know, if you chose to look at it like that. So it was a great lesson, a really big lesson.
And there's sometimes that you'll get caught up in it, and you'll get caught up in the game, and then you'll realize that you are caught up in the game, and it's a very fine line of being able, it's almost like you're teetering on the edge, and you have that choice to make. And once you decide to step out, and you still have all those feelings, and you're telling yourself, oh, I can't do this. You know, it's just really hard. And that's where you really have to start talking to yourself. It's like if you're going to, and sometimes it's, if you do it ahead of time, what you're going to do in that situation. Then you can say, okay, I'm in this situation. Let me back up. Let me take a breath. Let me go off somewhere. I am a pillar of power. I am a pillar of power. I am God. I am God. Oh, shoot. And things aren't working out. I am a God. You know, and there's this back and forth sometimes. But you know, but you have a choice. And the more that you can, that when you're going back and forth across the fence there, and you just keep at it. It's persistence is the key. Persistence is the key. Don't let yourself fall into the trap of telling yourself you can't do it, that it's too hard. Because you know, there's a lot of things that are perceived as hard out there. And it's perceived as hard because of our distortions. But we have the choice. We are Christiac beings. Okay, and so we can call on that. And the more we call on it, then that aligns it. That brings in the frequency and starts healing. If we can keep on persistence and do it in a consistent manner, then it will start clearing us, and it will be easier to make those choices. And where you can see it as a game. So if things don't always pan out in the moment, don't bruise yourself by kicking yourself. Okay, just get into that, okay, I know what to do, and keep doing it. Keep your mind focused on that until you can become it at that moment. Okay? Mac in November 2003, on the e-group, she posted this. She says, you can't take responsibility for someone else's hologram, and the state of each person's shield is their own responsibility. So no one else, you know, no one can do the pillar for you. No one can make you bring your Christos up. That's your responsibility, how you're going to respond. Your personal responsibility is to tend to your own fields, keep them strong, fortified, and protected. That is the responsibility of all of us. When your field interacts with another, it is their responsibility to tend to theirs, as long as you have not deliberately and intentionally interfered with the fields of another. You have not crossed any boundary lines. When you take full responsibility for the creation of your own hologram, a cigar is never just a cigar. Should you give illusion to the power of coincidence, or should you give power to the illusion of coincidence, you diminish your own personal power. You know, so if we're out there saying, oh, that's just coincidence, then you have just taken away your power of being a co-creator. You've just denied that you can co-create with the Christ within you. If you miss the various little signs that your body and the external hologram that you created is sending to you, yeah, we get lots of little messages, right, that mirror back to us and our body, how it feels. You also diminish your own personal power. If you attribute those little aches and pains to illusion of 3D existence, you bought the lie, put on a victim hat, and yes, you guessed it. You diminished your personal power. There is nothing so powerful as when someone takes full responsibility for their hologram. True power is a very humbling experience. So let's go once more. Send your consciousness into the code. Expand it out. Let it become into the encryption, and then bring that encryption back into your body and expand that within your whole self. And then into the void within you, that expanded self within you, speak the words. I am this now. Be love. Be now as one with God. Say, I am love now.
I am love now.
I am now as one with God.
I am now as one with God.
I am this I am.
I am this I am. Okay, so this is a step towards personal joy again. To choose your response, similar to what we were saying before. Often it's the reaction that takes us out of our connection with ourselves, because we act. When we choose to act, then we can take our own power back. We can be powerful co-creators. So often through reaction, we give away our choices. We react straight away to somebody else's choices that they make, and then we blame them for it. We enter into a sort of victim-victimizer blame game. It was your fault. It was you. You know, you made the choice. You did it. You did it. So when we act rather than react, then we pull into ourselves that power of joy, and we know ourselves as the conscious co-creator. So choosing your response, making a choice, the words, the intention, the purpose, the action, all of these things are divine, and they're all the qualities that we're able to work with all the time. So when we choose to respond, to be response-able, then we're choosing divine right action. And here's a quote, again, that humour, I mean, it can assist to change the reality of the situation. This one's from Mechanics of Manifestation. It's extremely important what words you choose to interpret the experience. This is where your free will, your freedom of choice comes in. This is where you can use your freedom of choice to bind you into the hologram and let it run over you, or to begin your freedom process from the hologram so you can begin to master it. When we talk about assigning a value judgment, making something bad and another thing good. So again, one of the attitudes and responsibilities of mastery allows us that space to look at being non-judgmental, to actually work with engaged detachment, and to not make comparisons, to not make judgment, to allow others to be whatever they are, and allow the situation to be what it is, and then take action for ourselves. To allow others the space to do whatever they do in their own co-creative fields, in their own co-creation, whether we like it or not. We allow that space to be what it is. And we tend to ourselves to do that through our actions. And the actions and the frequency that we hold through those will affect others by us just holding that frequency, holding that power.
Let's go ahead and sing this. Take the new day, make a new start, find the joy and make it yours. Leaving one less tear to cry in the world. And we can do things kinesthetically with our body. Everybody learns and reacts differently. Some people hear, some people see, some people feel. And I was in Norfolk for about 3 months taking a class, and I met up with a lady actually here in Virginia Beach that was someone that did some therapy, and I kept having these nightmare type, and I know it's now that it's simultaneous lives, and I was seeing something horrendous happen where it was very dark, and they come in and do things to your family, and I wanted to get rid of that. I want, you know, so I knew that in my body it was caught up. So I started working with her so I could start the healing process. And afterwards, she had me get on a rebounder. And I started giggling. And at that time, I had never really done any bounces. But have you noticed, I mean, that, you know, kids like to bounce, kids like to skip. And of course, my favorite cartoon was Winnie the Pooh and Tigger too. You know, Tigger's bounce up, not down, you know. And he was bounce, 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 bounce. That's what Tigger does. So let's all stand up and bounce. And see what it feels like in your body. How does the energetics change in your body when you bounce? Uh-huh. Do you notice how your face changes? You start smiling. Yeah, that's great. And so that's some of the things that we can do is actually move, you know, move in different ways. Movement changes the energy. And the same with skipping. Have you ever, you know, can you not laugh when you skip? I'm not going to have you skip, but I felt like it. I was there saying, well, what are my chances of yeah.
On the beach, that beach is just waiting for skippers. Absolutely.
So this is a very simple tactic. When the programs start to run, you just stop them by standing in your power and just say no. I got woken up one time, and this was, I guess, about several months ago, and you're in that half dream state, you know, sort of like 3:30 in the morning type thing, and you know things are going on, and you know that, I mean, I could feel essentially my shield was being attacked. And what came to mind was Max saying, just say no. And so I was there where your body, you don't really feel, you're not fully in your body yet. And, but I saw my greater self, my Rochelet, or your Christo self. It's sort of like I was lying down in the bed and I could see this, and it's like this figure went up in that silver white light, and I had many lifetimes of being a warrior, so I had the sword held high and said, no, and just stood there, you know.
Did you say warrior or
Warrior, not worrier. Warrior, you know. I said warrior, you know. That's why I was holding, that was my, you know, I spent a lot of time in this life trying to, what was a spiritual warrior as opposed to a warrior. But, and so when I started working with my greater self in protection, she always had this sword of light. And it was like, no, you're not, you know. And that was my way, and it was like, no. And I didn't have to do anything. She just stood there, said no. And it kind of reminded me of, because I had done some study in being what is a spiritual warrior and how do you not fight? How do you not hurt others? What is true warriorship? And so I was working with that, and that saying no. But in that study, I think it was in the Samurai Warriors I was reading about, where they said that I will not attack, but if you choose to impale yourself on my sword, that's your choice. So you stand in your power. It's like, and that's what I did. It's like I said no. And then that whatever else, they had their own choices to make. But I had set the boundary lines, no. And what I just did was breathe and expand that. And you can expand it to where that frequency goes throughout your whole house, you know. Or there have been times when things have appeared in my kitchen, and it was like by the power of my own Christos, you know. And I just breathed in that the Christos frequency, or whatever frequencies, the heliotalics, whatever you're using. And I just said no, and I sent it down to where it just like went around the whole way. You know, and I said no. And so the power of no is very powerful. And you can make your own visualizations of how you want to send that no out. You know, there are times when you'll just stand there, no. And there are times that you'll want to go, you know, this is my place, you know, sort of like what in Macbeth, out, out, damn spot, out, I say, you know. It's like, this is my space. This is the line that's drawn. So you can just say no. And then you're making your own technique up of how you want to outpicture that no. And it's just like sometimes, different times, you'll have maybe different frequencies of what that no means for that moment. But I have found that if I kind of plan ahead of what I would like to do when something happens, then in the moment I don't feel disempowered, I don't feel surprised. I know what I want to say by the power of my own Christos. I don't have to say, now what did I need to say? By the power, Christos Rishi, what do I do, you know? And there's so many things to say, so many things to do. And it's just remember that your Christos goes all the way back to God's source. When the Christ and the Christala grid were that, you know, first part of the outpicturing from source. So by the power of my own Christos is very powerful. And how you choose to use it in how you protect yourself. You have the right to defend yourself. You have the right to protect yourself. No one has the right to walk over you and decimate you. Okay, you are protecting. Impeccability in the ANRs means that you're protecting the God self of you within.